I'm Hunter Brittle alongside my good friend Elliot Henderson, ready to bring you all the action live on Split Second Broadcasting here on Twitch. With 2 races left in the regular season, the track here tonight can truly make or break someone's season, even remotely close to the cutoff line. Elliot, with the drafting style of racing we have here, we have a few favorites, but is there anyone here who doesn't have a shot at the win?
I don't think there's anyone that you can sit there and say doesn't have a shot. I think right now, just to get you up to speed on a few things, Ashton Lawson's probably going to be the biggest one to worry about. He was disconnected right before we started gridding here, so he's likely going to miss the start. I don't see him on track currently. He's probably not in the session quite yet, so he'll be the biggest one to watch out for. But going back to the point situation, you're right. We've got about 4 guys that are safe. That's Spencer Owens, Nathan Jump, Shane Nicewonger, Zach Henry. They don't have a whole lot to worry about. They can have a nice, clean race tonight, but bringing them up again, Ashton Lawson, Jared Darling, Jackson Sims, all kind of on the bubble. And then Sensi, Caressel, Kep, Fitzgerald, Heller. I can go down this list for days. There are a lot of guys that if they can just find some points, can find their way in. You can see it right there. Nice full screen view for you. We're taking the top 10. So right about Eric Kepfon up, you can see the point difference is just 1 point for Gavin Fitzgerald on the outside, and Christopher Heller, Madalinas, both about 9-10 points out currently. So a swing right there would definitely shift some things around. And all the guys around that bubble spot are here tonight, so anything could happen. But definitely keep your eye on guys like Nick Caressel, Eric Kep, Gavin Fitzgerald, Chris Heller, Madalinas, and see what they can do.
Definitely, it seems like a tale of two different races there, between the top 4 or 5 there in the points, and the bottom 6 there. The outlier there being Jared Darling sitting smack in the middle. But as the field comes in through the tri-oval here, we'll take you through the starting lineup here. Your pole winner tonight is Hunter Madalinas. We were just talking about it before we went live, taking an interesting line, and it through qualifying, and it absolutely worked for him. He's your pole sitter tonight. To his outside with a surprise here to start tonight, Nick Caressel with a solid starting spot in the 2nd position.
Second row is going to be Jared Darling and Chris Heller, 2 guys we were just talking about, both around that bubble spot. Anything could go right or wrong for them tonight.
Mike McConville rolls off in the 5th position here tonight, looking for redemption after a close-cut fuel strategy race last week. Look for him to be making some moves all night long. And he's got Jordan Gonzalez in the 48 truck to his outside in 6th.
And that row behind them in 7th and 8th. Michael Sensi going to roll off 7th around that bubble spot. Shane Nicewonger, one of the more comfortable guys coming in, will roll off 8th. Look for him to just stay up towards the front all night.
Our token Brit rolls off in the 9th position. That's Lewis Woodall in the 13 truck. He's had one practically stolen away from him here at Talladega, so we know this place means a lot to him. Looking for that first checkered flag here, with Nathan Jump in the to his outside there in the 25 truck, rolling off 10th.
6th row has Alex Feder and Jackson Sims rolling off 11th to 12th.
A couple of Spectrum teammates in the next row, Eric Kepf and Spencer Owens rolling off side by side in the 13th and 14th spots.
And in 15th, you've got Matt Durd, and 16th, former teammate Zach Henry.
Starting behind them in the 17th spot is Brent Kingcott here. Good to see Brent back here tonight after a not so good performance last week rather, in St. Louis. Good to have him back here. And to his outside is Aiden DuPont in the 00.
Gavin Fitzgerald will roll off 19th with Robin Durr on his outside in 20th.
Preston Henry and Ashton Lawson make up the next row, starting deeper in the field now as we will look for these guys to move forward all night.
Sam Hoff, Adams Owen roll off 22nd or 23rd and 24th, and we'll just run through the rest of the field real quick as they come to the green. Rod Fosnot, Tyrell Baker, Lod Radman, Austin Moore, Ross Brockman, Trent Curtis, James Shiflett, Michael Barbagelato, all not putting down laps as we get ready to head into the tri-oval. Ashton Lawson still not on the grid, disconnected again. We're going to head through this tri-oval and take the green in just a few seconds.
Unfortunate start for Ashton Lawson tonight, but it's not going to matter for the rest of the field here as they come through the Geico restart zone. The green flag is out. Madalinas is away with the shot. He's got Jared Darling in tow, giving him a bump as they head off into 1.
And a lot of the action is going to be up front. It's going to depend on how these guys push. Heller definitely accustomed to being able to push. He's got teammate Jordan Gonzalez right behind him with Shane Nicewonger, another guy that runs up front. in these races very often right behind him. You got Nathan Jump already forming an outside lane. Nick Caressel said, I'm done, already going to jump to the bottom, and that inside's formed up with Jared Darling now jumping to the top. You're going to see a lot of that cycling. The second place guy is going to jump to the outside, and here comes that third lane with Jackson Sims and Nathan Jump already trying to make it work with just two of them.
We saw Jared Darling put on a clinic with TCB and Malad Radman at Daytona. Look for him to do the exact same thing here as we look farther back in the pack. TCB, like Superman, is already up halfway through the field, just shot through the middle and is coming up. He's already practically up to the 10th position here, looking to come to the lead here as Jared Darling is going to come around and lead lap 1.
Yeah, Jared Darling going to make that work for him. Madalena's right behind him, tucked up nice with Nathan Jump and Jackson Sims still working that outside lane, but that little that two-truck tango is not really going to go too far out there. They're going to start to slip back. Shane Neiswanger is going to fill that spot. But as you said, TCB already at the back of that pack, and Hunter Madalenas gets a little bit out of shape there. He's going to get to the top side, and Heller's going to push Madalenas potentially to the lead here.
Heller gave Madalenas a shot going down the back. Maybe Madalenas wasn't ready for it or something, but that truck was all out of sorts. Manages to gather it back up as they head off into 3. You got to respect the effort by Nathan Jump and Jackson Sims trying that top line there. That's really something that will set this place apart from Daytona, is that top, you've got all the room in the world to make a third lane. I really can't blame them for trying it. It's just they don't have any help right now. The two of them are going backwards.
Yeah, Jump just said he was going to try to drop back anyway. It looks like Sims is just going to go with him, not really trying to get back. Madalena's going to do the same thing. I don't know that he led either of those laps, but I just don't think he wants to be up here. But to your point, that third lane will work. They've just, it's going to take a while for these guys to gain the confidence to want to do that. 3 laps into, we've got 75 laps here. 3 laps into a 75-lap race, just not really time for it. It's Caressel's going to go to the point. Heller got a little off sequence on his rear bumper. Caressel's going to jump to the bottom, get in front of Jared Darling, and still home that spot.
That off-center bump there really upsets the truck, as we've already seen with Madalenas and now Chris Heller here as they duck to the outside with Shane Neiswanger in tow. They're looking for the lead, going to put Nick Caressel there in the sucker hole. TCB is going to try to come to his rescue, but it doesn't look nothing like it's happening. Jared Darling leads that lap that time.
Yeah, how about Jordan Gonzalez to the outside of Heller there? That was interesting, too. I don't think anyone really wanted to work with Caressel. He mic'd up. I didn't hear quite what he said, but probably a little frustrated there. But now that third lane's forming because of all that melee going on. Caressel kind of went up to block Heller, and it wasn't there. You got Eric Kemp and Kevin Fitzgerald jumping out of line. They do a lot with Spectrum. They start to drop towards the back if they see it get a little racy, and they are 3x3 for a little while. And Heller kind of... Yep, gonna give it back to Jordan and kind of say, well, you didn't want to work with me a second ago. I'm not going to work with you now. Still 3x3, Louis Woodall up top, pushing Shane Neiswanger with Austin Moore right behind him. Here comes Radman with TCB in the middle. Watch for those guys to try to make a move and get this third line going if they can clear out Shane and Louis.
25-11 racing, controlling both lanes here as Heller ducks back down in front of his teammate here, trying to block off that dominant inside lane. I say dominant, but it's really... This is really like Daytona, where you get that conveyor belt effect here as we see TCB and Radman already up to the front here. That outside lane gets such a run that you just conveyor belt around the bottom lane, and then the lead car just jumps down to the bottom, and it just ends up being a cycle unless the second car can jump out in line and stay up there in that front row as we see TCB door banging with Nick Caressel as they head off into 3 there. TCB wants the lead. We're only 5 laps into this event.
Yeah, they're racing real hard. You can see that's why Jordan Gonzalez kind of bowed out of it and said, I'm good with this. But a little bit of shuffling going on. Trent Curtis up here on the outside lane, third truck in line. So a few guys making their way up here nice and early, going to try to maintain some track position out of this, just like TCB and Radman do all the time. So we'll see what they can do. But TCB to the point already, and Heller's going to sit there and try to push Caressel back around him in the middle of 1 and 2.
Only one guy can hold that top position there, so I hope these guys who are planning on staying up here all night can play nice as Chris Heller bows out. He says, I don't want any of this. He smelled blood in the water as the 3 and the 29 truck were hooked up above him, and they were going to the front. Move the 2 of them back to the front here. It looks we're setting up for another dominant performance. We saw them in Daytona, where they just took control of the lead, took control of both lanes, would not let it go. We're setting up for that again as they can head off into the tri-oval.
Yeah, Caruso's been really aggressive up here with his movements and his pushes and blocking already. So he might be the guy that tries to play with these guys and make sure that they don't really sit there and maintain, even though they're doing it right now. But he's been the one guy that kind of sits up here and moves himself around. I wonder if that's what's made other guys kind of move out because Heller was pushing him. Gonzalez was in front of him. Maybe they don't really like what Caruso's trying to do as he moves to the top here, blocks Radman off, and he's going to get shoved to the lead. Jared Darling's going to have to pick up TCB on the bottom. And you can see them go pushing each other down the straightaway. Sam Hoff looking to the outside. He's back. Just trying to give a peek out to Trent Curtis, but just going to fall back in line here. But we'll have to see how these three up front, Nick Caressel, Malad Radman, and TCB all kind of work out because they seem like the three most aggressors. But don't forget about Jared Darling right there. He worked very well with TCB and Radman early on in Daytona.
Well, I said the top lane had all the momentum coming off of the turns there, but TCB and Jared Darling just pushed their way back to the lead after all of that. So TCB leads this lap here, but he's still got Caressel to his outside, being pushed by Radman off in the corner. TCB dives up in front of that top lane. Caressel says having nothing of it, dives to the outside. No one's going with him. He's going to the back now.
Yeah, Caressel made the bad mistake. He didn't realize TCB and Radman are basically teammates here. They are teammates, and they're going to work together. So Caressel makes a mistake for himself, and he's going to find his way back outside the top 10 here with that one maneuver. And any normal move that would have looked weird for TCB, but he knew if Caressel moved out of line that no one was going to go with him because he had his teammate right behind him. So that worked out for TCB. It's got Jared Owen in the bottom lane. I believe that Spencer Owens right behind him. So pretty much all the guys that he wants up front around him for TCB to kind of control this race, which is all he really wants.
Comms are active and the comms are being used, and that's what it's going to take to maintain the stranglehold that these guys have on this lead all night long here. TCB dives back down to the bottom of the racetrack here. Going to take that preferred entry into turn one here, wrapping around the bottom, and then I expect to see him jump back out up in front of his teammate, Malad Radman, here as they come off of the corner. I stand corrected as Radman goes back up to his side there, and they're going to be door to door going down the back.
Yeah, here comes a third lane foreman. I made a mistake. I said that was Spencer Owens. That's Mike McConville back there, third truck in the bottom lane. But Sam Hoff is getting a push from Austin Moore. They're trying to own the middle lane. TCB went back up, but Austin's going to push Sam around the top. And right now, they're the most connected. Sam's probably going to go to the lead. He's clear of both lanes. He might just stay up there. We'll have to see how that works out. But right now, third lane is moving. Sam moves down. Now Caressel going to give the push to Austin Moore. Austin Moore is going to lead this lap. TCB to the bottom of Sam. It's racy up here for the lead.
TCB said, I want nothing of Sam Hoff's rear bumper here. Dove back down in front of Jared Darling. Goes right back to the point here. New players up at the front, but it's nothing doing for TCB as I say that top lanes rather has got all the momentum in the world, got all the help. As we've got two guys going for the lead here as they make contact down in the one. Both of them are down on the apron there. Caressel manages to gather it back up. Austin Moore gets stuck down there on the bottom lane at underneath the apron there. Is going to fall way back outside the top 10, probably top 15 here. What a save by both of them. Unfortunately, Austin Moore gets the worst end of it as he is going to be going backwards.
On the plus side, he can recollect himself and race another day. That's just Caressel, man. He wanted that lead. He got up there. He had a chance. I don't know if he was really trying to make a move. I think with how slow Austin moved left, he thought Caressel was just going to follow him, and he didn't. And he was trying to go around him. So I don't know if you want to call that a block or what, but just awkward timing for both of them to make that work. But here comes the top lane once again. Brent Kingcott pushing Gavin Fitzgerald. Eric Kemp on the top, trying to make that work. And right now with TCB's maneuvering, it is.
That KFM Spectrum Alliance there baring its teeth on the top side. Eric Kemp and Gavin Fitzgerald, we saw him dropping back earlier on in the race. They've decided that they want to go to the front. They think they're better off in this three-wide battle here up for the top spot. Meanwhile, back at the front, it's still TCB being pushed by Sam Hoff. Sam Hoff will not leave his bumper as they flash back across the line. TCB leads that lap there. He's still got Caressel to his inside with Jared Darling sitting right nice and tidy up there in that second position on the inside lane.
Yeah, and as a driver like Trent Curtis or Mike McConville here, you're just sitting here, even Aiden DuPont, and you're just like, what's going on? Like, I've seen 8 guys jump out of line. There's Caressel. Now he wants to get out of line. Like, I was just about to say, I mean, these guys jumping out of line, it's really frustrating because it kills momentum in certain areas. You've got Sensi still sitting back there. You know, you saw Gavin and Kingcott trying to make a run. it's really frustrating to try to make runs when guys are jumping out of line like that. And when TCB switches lanes, that's what made that third lane go around everybody up top. So Sam's now complaining about getting hot. He's got to lay off him a little bit. That's going to be the other thing that we're going to have to focus on. When these guys push, they're getting a lot less air to that front grill, which means they're going to heat up pretty quickly. All the engine temp, the oil temp, everything's going to start to skyrocket, water temp. So the big thing is going to be seeing if guys try to get out of line or if they back off and stop pushing. They're only going to be able to push for, I'd say, maybe a lap and a half maximum of full push before they have to get off each other. So if we get to the point of a green white checkered, that'll be something to watch for.
Sam Hoff back to the rear bumper of TCB. His temps have cooled down. He's back on the bumper, pushing it, trying to get him back around Jared Darling, who holds that top position there. Sam Hoff really going to be a loyal pusher all night long. It seems like he's really stuck to the bumper of that Oreos number 3 truck.
Well, I don't think his temps are that cool. You saw him kind of poking out all the way down the backstretch there, and even into 3, and in the middle of 3 and 4 even, he laid off him and got to the outside. You can see him going through the tri-oval, laying off, still laying off. So Sam having to work on trying to keep that thing cool. Meanwhile, McConville just all over the back of Jared Darling, but not really getting a run. So Sam doing a good job of managing his temps, but also maintaining the fact that TCB can run for that lead and be side by side with Jared Darling.
When you're managing your temps like that, they get up so high that it's really hard to really bring them back down at a rapid rate. You kind of got to lay off for a while. Is it better to lay off and leave that half a car length gap in between them, or are you better off just kind of sticking a nose to the outside, or is both of those options just going to kill the momentum?
Well, you can see what McConville just did. It completely killed the inside lane. But, you know, usually you want to lay completely off and just get out of the lane if you're going to get too hot. But that's what it is about, you know, managing the temps while you're pushing, making sure that you're not running into some issue so that you can continue to push but not completely get out of the lane. But that's why you'll see the guys third in line sit here and lay way back, because they don't want to sit there and get hot. And whenever these guys cycle into the lead or around each other, then that guy that's third in line can sneak up and start pushing, like you see Radman doing with Sam Hoff here. Something to note: Shane Neiswanger has dropped. Apparently, him and Ashton are having some type of connection issue tonight. He's already reconnected, but will likely leave him a couple laps down, and he'll be needing a caution at some point. He came in here third in points, trying to chase down that 10 bonus point for the regular season championship. And he was only 2 points behind Spencer Owens and Nathan Jump. So that's going to be a big hurdle for him to overcome tonight and looking into Chicagoland next week.
I want to go back to earlier what happened between Nick Caressel and Austin Moore when both of them tried to go for that bottom lane there. They have both pushed around the leaders there of TCB and Sam Hoff now, who dominate the top 2 lanes. But with Caressel stepping out of line with Austin Moore, you got to think that that's going to hurt that relationship later on in the event. I would think early on you'd be trying to work with as many people as possible, build up those relationships, build up that trust so you can get those big pushes and pulls later on in the event.
Yeah, I think I've been trying to gauge Caressel this whole run to see what he's really doing. And like I said, in the first couple laps, it was obvious that he was one of the aggressors out of it, and they were just working together a little bit down the backstretch there. But it just looks like he wants to be up front and lead. He's kind of taking a step back now, I think, after that moment, and now he's just kind of sitting in line, relaxing. But there was definitely a lot of movement from him earlier, trying to cut people off and kind of put himself in a good spot. Not egregiously, but just in a way that it would put him ahead of everybody, which is what you want to do. We're out here racing. You don't want to sit back there and ride. And he made a point to try to get up there, lead a lap, and get himself up there. So we'll have to see how that works out for him later, if it's going to make him friends or not. Sometimes guys will go with that guy because they know that he'll cut up through the field. But right now, I'm sure Austin Moore is on the side of frustration more than anything.
You got to think it was kind of a, dude, what are you doing kind of thing as they both dove to that bottom lane there. So look for that duo to may or may not hook up as they go back to the front, or try and make their way back to the front. Rather, it looks like Caressel is hell-bent on following Brent Kingcott rather up in that top lane there, trying to wrap that top lane. It's just the 2 of them there. Elliot, the 2-car tango here, not really as effective as it once was.
No, I don't think it's very effective in the truck at all anymore. There's just too much aero deficit, if you want to call it that. It's just a brick wall when you hit these trucks. So 2 trucks together isn't bad, but it's not going to beat 3 or 4 trucks in a line. So, and I mean, that's also just an aero thing. They don't want to have 2 guys just sneak out away from the field. You get 2 guys that can hook up, well, they'd just be gone. So It's just kind of an overall aero thing within iRacing, and it makes for a really good race because you don't get guys just driving away from each other. So, um, it's something because I know a lot of people do appreciate that tango racing, and it makes you have to really work with your partner and everything. But this style of racing is still really interesting, and you get to see guys have to work with 3 or 4 guys in a line, and you can see the outside already starting to fall apart because it's just not formed up. So it's fun to see guys have to really form a line to be able to go anywhere. But I really want to point out that Aiden DuPont has sat as that 4th truck in line, not wavered, and just kind of relaxed there. And right now, he's probably the most consistent as far as being where he needs to be. Another guy to point out, just a couple cars behind him, is the 19 of Adam Zorn, also doing a great job, just sitting up here inside the top 10, just kind of biding their time. They know it's a 75-lap race. They know they got a little while on fuel, so you can see everyone's starting to single file out and might be coming up to pit stops pretty soon here.
Speaking of fuel and pit stops here, Elliot, what are we looking at for fuel strategy and maybe even tire strategy here as we coming to 20 laps, or rather 20 laps completed in this event?
Well, that'd be a good question if I did my due diligence to find out. I believe, well, it's right here. I was going to say I think it's about 20 to 22 laps at a maximum, which, yeah, technically that'll put them there. I believe it'd be 18 laps. Every 18 laps come down to put you at about 76, 78. So not really an awkward window to worry about. The only thing is going to be what they want to do with tires. Obviously, they'll be taking full fuel here each time, but what kind of tires these guys are going to do? Are they going to do 2? Are they going to do none? Or they can do 4. So it looks like Jared Darling's just doing the 2 left sides, and that's normally what guys will do. They'll either rotate lefts or they'll rotate rights to start, and looks like Jared's just going to do 2 lefts here, and looks like most of the field just did 2.
That Spectrum KFM group that just bit there, you can really see the alliances forming on this strategy here, as most of the rest of the field who stayed out has now gone to that bottom lane here, and here they come here. Look at them fanning out 4, 5 wide as they come down into the pit stops here. TCB leading them down. Excellent pit stall entry there. And he's got Sam Hoff, Malad Radman, Michael Senzi, and Mike McConville in tow.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these guys all kind of shape back up. You've got James Shiflett back here. Looks like he may or may not lose this group based off of what just happened there coming onto pit road. But that's going to be the thing, is the stragglers versus the guys that get onto pit road early, if they can keep up with the group or not.
Is there such a thing here? I mean, it's obviously going to depend on how well they can stay hooked up, I assume. But there's not really much of a thing as a overcut or undercut at these. It's all about how well you can stay hooked up here, as it looks like this final group of drivers. Everyone else who has stayed out up to this point is Aiden DuPont wrecks into Zach Henry here. Adam Zorn is spinning. What a massive moment as they're coming onto pit road here. Caution's not going to fly because it's out of the racing groove, but that's a huge blow to Zach Henry's regular season points championship efforts.
Yeah, that is definitely not ideal. I don't know how that just happened, but
it looked like Aiden DuPont just got too heavy, too hard on the brakes there, coming down off of the banking there, and just spun it down right into Zach Henry here. Zach is able to continue on trying to hunt down his 2511 teammates there. Big moment as they're coming into the pits. We'll have to see what the damage is. You got to think that's just going to kill the aero on both Aiden DuPont, if not just engine damage for him, and Zach Henry here as they try and form back up with this group who are just going to blow right by them.
Yeah, I was going to try to get back to you about the undercut overcut. The real only thing you can do about that is just kind of work with your teammates. And oh man, Nick Caressel wanted to stay low and TCB wanted to go. The only thing you can really do is just work with your teammates and potentially come out ahead of a group and kind of build a gap. But it's going to be really hard to do here, especially with just a few trucks. So we'll have to see how that all works out going on. But obviously the group with KFM and Spectrum made it work there to kind of put themselves up towards the front of this gap now. They're leading this pack. So you could also see how 2 packs catching each other, how Caressel and TCB had 2 different ideas there, how that almost created a situation. But really kind of just still in shock over the issue coming down pit road. gotta catch up and see what happens. It looks like Woodall, Adam Zorn, and a couple others are really affected by that. They both lost the draft, and it looks like Preston Henry and others are damaged enough that they're gonna eventually lose the draft here as well.
Big blow there to Dark Horse Motorsports is three of their 5 drivers have now been involved in something not, well, I say not of their own doing, but Shane Neiswanger there with the disconnect, he's back up there, and then Aiden DuPont, Adam Zorn, Louis Woodall, all of those guys getting into trouble there coming onto pit road. Big blow to that whole organization tonight. We'll have to see how they rebound here. But in terms of teams, it looks like the Spectrum and the KFM guys have just got this pit stall thing in spades here, as it's all of them and a handful of others in that top pack, and then everyone else is just spread out throughout the track.
Yeah, quick note that Robin Durr is re-hit pit road. Ashton Lawson has not rejoined the session, so it's going to be a rough drop for him in points. It kind of opens it up going into Chicagoland for some others, as he is going to leave here in the 32nd position. So we'll have to see how that all sorts out. But as you said, this is basically a KFM Spectrum group now with TCB, Radman, a few E95 boys in there. But huge credit to what Spectrum did on pit road. You wanted to talk about an undercut. That's basically what they did. They jumped their way above everybody else and put themselves in a spot to really own this group. Now, Shane Neiswanger up here, 2 laps down where he is. He was 3 laps down. This is him trying to get one back. He could really use a yellow right now trying to get back in this race. Remember, he got disconnected within the first 10 laps of the race, just trying to stay in this, get some laps back if he can, if he gets some cautions, and make sure that he can get back to the lead lap. But it's going to be hard as these guys start to go a lap down. You can already see one guy, I believe that was Louis, lost the draft, went a lap down here with the incident coming on pit road.
Have to applaud the effort by Shane Neiswanger there, dropping out. It's going to be really hard to make up those 3 laps that he lost, but he's hanging on the fringe of that on that second one there with his positioning, but really trying to fight and claw for those precious 10 bonus points as we bear down on the chase for the GLTS championship here. But back at the front, it's all Malad, Radman, and TCB is knocking on the door to his outside here. We got Nick Caressel. All the big players rather have made their way back up to the front. Jared Darling's right in tow there. Looks like we're going to have another classic case of these 3, count it Caressel there, make it 4, just playing cat and mouse with the rest of the field tonight.
Just a quick note that of damaged trucks, it looks like Louis Woodall, Zach Henry, Robin Durr, Aiden DuPont, all kind of the heaviest damage. I believe Adam Zorn might have a little bit too, but Aiden DuPont is literally driving around here at 150 miles an hour, about 30 miles an hour off the pace. Zorn and Robin Durr are working together, running about 175-ish, but Zach Henry is well off the pace. He can only run about 170, 165-ish by himself. So a lot of frustration from these guys early on.
Absolutely lethal blow to Dark Horse Motorsports as a whole in that incident there. But back up at the front, it's all the Spectrum, TCB, Radman Racing. Those guys, I can see a pair of E95 drivers up in the mix in Madalinas and Senzi there, looking for teammate Austin Moore somewhere. He must have gotten caught out in the shuffle there, but still a lot of teams still in this fold here. A lot of opportunity for action here. But if Spectrum could just get lined up with everybody around the outside, would they not be able to just freight train away from everybody, or is it really a matter of aggression and just holding on to that lead as hard as you can?
I think it just depends on what everybody wants to do. You know, the outside lane can make stuff happen, but, you know, the inside is definitely worthwhile. And the big thing right now that everyone's working against is obviously Radman and TCB are really good at this. Like, Jared's no slouch. He's very good at pushing, but you really need 3-4 trucks behind you. You can't just do it with 2. And, you know, if you have TCB and Radman out there and they can just have one person behind them, they can really make hay with it. As you see the whole field kind of stack up right there going into 3. You can see the outside, it's going to always prevail. It just kind of depends what guys really want to do. Some will sit there and sit in the outside lane and kind of just hold it, and others will want to conveyor belt around and lead that bottom lane. So we'll just have to see how that unfolds tonight, but usually it just turns into the conveyor belt where the outside lane is consistently moving ahead until those guys on the bottom get frustrated enough or can split up the top enough to jump up there and kind of cycle it up.
I think one person who can challenge that conveyor belt motion there is Shane Neiswanger. He's going to be pushing hard to get that lap back there. As wow, TCB had a moment there, tried to duck up in front of Nick Caressel. Caressel was having none of it, went to the outside. Jared Darling looks to pick him up. That outside lane is going. Shane Neiswanger is stuck in the middle here, but TCB is going to try and use him as a little bit of a drafting buddy. They're going to be 3 wide. All 3 of our top players in this race so far coming out of turn 4.
Yeah, I'm interested. I don't know if TCB's just out here having fun, if he wants to be on camera, if he just wants us to say TCB 100 times tonight, but I would have expected him to stick with Radman there, but he's here to play, and he's here to jump around in front of Radman, and I don't know, maybe Milad's having some fun too. Obviously, he's streaming tonight, having a good time, so whatever gets those guys going. It's definitely fun to watch. You see Caressel jumps out of the high side is killed out of that, and the bottom lane gets a huge burst of momentum from it, so these guys just all moving around, seeing what works, and right now TCB might just be trying stuff for later on.
TCB did ask us if there was going to be a broadcast tonight, knowing full well that there is one. So I think he was just confirming that he's going to be the one putting on a show here tonight. And boy, has he, as Brent Kingcott's getting a huge shove from Nick Caressel here. They're going to try and go around the outside. It's just the 2 guys down low in TCB and Milad Radman, but they're going to get that side draft on. And Kringcott's still going to have the advantage. A massive push here with those 4 trucks on the outside there. Kringcott's got him cleared as he dropped down as they come back across the line. Give the lap here to Kingcott as they flash across the line, fire off into turn 1 here. Caressel not leaving his back bumper. They want to break up this 2-car tandem that TCB and Radman have that has just got a stranglehold on this lead right now.
Yeah, the one thing I've noticed is that guy on the outside tends to kind of lean in towards that inside lane, especially coming off the exit whenever he's clear on corner exit. So you can see Caressel making a big move to the bottom there, just trying to get around and get some air to that nose. I'm sure after pushing that hard was pretty bad, but it almost dragged Caressel down into TCB. And if these guys aren't careful, they might just cause themselves to wreck doing all that. But as the leader, honestly, sometimes that's kind of what you want. You want to drag that guy down into the guy underneath you and watch them all wreck behind you. You know, it's going to help you out in the long run. But it's interesting watching these guys kind of leave their lane a little bit. You see Brent kind of doing it again, and Shane's having to follow him through that corner. But right now, outside lane working out as Radman's kind of backed off too as well.
Brent Kingcott here dives down to the bottom of the racetrack. He wants that lead for himself and him only here, as Caressel's going to give him a big bump there in the middle of the corner and fire him off down the back straightaway, and that leaves the 2 cars of Jared Darling and Shane Neiswanger out to dry. But Nick Caressel pulling the old switcheroo on him, goes back around. He wants the outside. He wants that lead right back from Kingcott. A lot of action being happening up here in this top 4 or 5 cars. Just this pack. Like, it's really just these 3 cars who are mixing it up. Everyone else behind them has single filed out. They're behaving, just watching the show with the rest of us.
Yeah, the big thing is with these pit stops, we've cycled out to a lot of different groups. Obviously, this whole pack is about 15 cars deep all the way back to Jordan Gonzalez, about 1.5 seconds off. But then you've got a small group, about 4 trucks between 16th and 20th. They're about 17 seconds back. And then another group about 20th on back is going to be like Austin Moore, Matt Durr. That's a group of about 5 or 6 trucks. Everybody within the top 24, I'd say, is competitive enough to maintain speed as Shane Neiswanger gets hung out there. Obviously, the guy that's multiple laps down, not a lot of guys seem to really want to work with him too heavy, as Rod even shoves the nose to the inside of him going into turn 3, made that really tight. But otherwise, 25th on back's the ones that are struggling. All those damaged guys are guys that have completely lost the draft, like Preston, Zach Henry, Robin Durr, Adams Orn, Louis Woodall, and then obviously Shane Neiswanger back there, still struggling to get these laps back.
KFM has come to party here. Brent Kingcott, got to think he's hollering over the radio looking for some help, and the help has arrived in the form of Rod Fosnaugh. Rod in his return. We missed him for the last couple of weeks. Great to have Rod back up in here. He's trying to come to the aid of his teammate in the 5 truck there, and he's got a windshield full of his front bumper. If he can just get out and get up to him here, as TCB and Radman are going to try and pull Jared Darling around the outside of these 2 on the bottom.
Not a whole lot going on now. We've got a little bit of group from Spectrum working their way up here with Jackson Sims, Gavin Fitzgerald. They're trying to move up and might pick up Shane. Nope, looks like Shane's going to duck down. Jackson's going to go to the outside. I'd say if you're trying to get track position right now, this is your time to get it, as TCB and Radman kind of give themselves a big spot here. Let's see if Caressel's going to get a run and go to the outside. Yep, there he goes with Brent Kingcott.
almost like clockwork. These guys keep cycling at us, cycling up and down the different lanes here. They flashed across the line that time. TCB's got it, but just by a nose, as Caressel's already seized back control of that lead here as they go off into turn one. TCB going to have the preferred lane on the inside, and that outside lane, the pairing of them just died as they have fallen all the way back there. Eric Kepf has slowly and methodically moved his way up into the top three. I almost didn't even see him. I thought it was Jared Darling because they got two pink trucks there. I thought it was Jared, but it's actually Eric. A solid run from him tonight, looking to shake and bake, make some noise tonight.
Well, that pair that you were talking about was actually the Henry brothers, Preston and Zach. Zach obviously heavily damaged. They're going to try to hang on to the back end of this group. Heller and Gonzalez have actually kind of fallen off a little bit to see if they can drag them up, but I don't think it's going to work. Zach is heavily damaged back there after that contact with Aiden DuPont. And right now we see the outside coming back again. You've got Jared Darling, Jackson Sims, and I believe Spencer Owens finally making some noise up here in that top lane.
I told you those KFM boys are here to party, and Jackson Sims was the only one who hadn't made it up there when Rod got there, but he's here now. Big push out front as they're going to send Jared Darling up to the front, try and bring Spencer Owens with him. Nothing doing, not going to happen. He's going to, I believe he's got him clear there as they dump back down in front of Nick Caressel here, and TCB is going to try and make a Herculean effort around the outside with just Adam Zorn on this freight train that they've got going on the bottom lane now.
Shane Niswanger going to duck down pit road. He's a little bit off sequence again because he got disconnected at an awkward time. So he's about 3 or 4 laps short compared to everyone else. He should be able to still make it on fuel if this goes green all the way through. Odds are it won't, but just watch for him every time a few laps early to hit pit road. As we've got, looks like the 19 of Adam Zorn starting to work his way up here. He's now a lap down, I believe, stuck right there working with TCB, but evidently that truck's not damaged. He's able to sit there and race pretty well, and Mike McConville making his way back up here now.
That's going to be an awkward Dark Horse Motorsports radio channel there, is basically all that entire team is going to be trying to fight and claw for that precious lucky dog spot if a caution were to come out, and that is not going to help Shane Niswanger's efforts to make it back onto the lead lap here. So big developments here in that one as Malad Radman just hangs Adam Zorn out to dry. Looking for that back bumper of the TCB truck. He's got it now, and they're coming to the front here around Jackson Sims. They've got the help of Mike McConville. I think the 3 of them are just going to the front right here.
Yeah, you can never really tell. It just looks like the inside line just dies, but it's just because of how good that push is. You get 3 trucks out there as opposed to 2, and it is significantly better. That whole group of 15 is still pretty well together just to catch you up. 16th to 19th is another group of 4 trucks. They're 23 seconds back, losing time. The last time we talked about them, they were only 17 back, so they're losing time pretty quickly. And then 20th back to 24th is another group of 5 trucks, 31.5 seconds back. It looks like that group about 16th just lost a second and a half that lap. So if you're not in this main pack, you are losing a good amount of time to these guys.
Now, Elliot, why is it that in this, as we've got pit stops going on right now, actually, the Spectrum and KFM Alliance here has hit pit road. They're all going to look like they safely make it down on the pit road there. So we've got pit stops already cycling around. This is going to bust up that front pack here. Elliot, with that big pack there in racing as hard as they are side by side, sometimes 3 wide, why hasn't those smaller packs of cars staying in single file, why haven't they been able to track them down?
Well, I'm more interested in the fact that Austin Moore and Matt Durr can't do it. I think a lot of it comes down to pushing. I'm not going to say, Alex Vedder, Trent Curtis, Nathan Jump are bad pushers. We know Nathan Jump's a very competitive and great driver in his own right. He's won more races this season than anybody else, but it's just who's out there. When your leaders are TCB and Radman, to be, the best guys on track at Talladega or Daytona, not just in this league, but in sim in general, it's hard to kind of keep that momentum up against them. So if it was anyone else out here leading this pack, maybe they could maintain a little bit of ground. But when you've got really fast guys leading groups, it's hard for these groups that are back behind here to really make something happen. So we'll have to see exactly how these guys really work it out. But like I said, that second group with Austin Moore and Matt Durr is a very good pusher here. And Austin Moore is usually pretty good at super speedways. You'd think that they could get it done, but they're still losing time. So it might just be down to the fact that five truck packs don't work anymore. There was a time and a point where that did work, and maybe it's just not a thing anymore with these larger packs. And there are certain times where two lanes will work better than a single file group. I don't know how or why aerodynamically, but in certain cases, there are points where running side by side with a bigger group is actually faster than putting 5 trucks lined up all together.
So interesting how the draft here works. But up at the front is TCB, Malad Radman. Mike McConville has glued to the rear bumper of that 29 truck. He's not letting anybody get that third position there. Those guys have a stranglehold on this field and on this entire race right now. So massive effort from them to hold on to that lead as much as they have here. I'm interested to see why we haven't had, like, in the first pit stop, in the first round of pit stops there, it was really just one lap after. We have one group come one lap, one group come the next, and then the third and final group come this time. This time around, there's about a 1 lap difference between those Spectrum guys. We just had a group hit pit road here now. I'm interested as to the reasoning behind that split there, as the lead pack here is going to fire off into pit road here. Everybody looking to get a clean entry on in. Looks going to be 4 wide here, but still squeaky clean. Everybody gets onto pit road nice and tidy here. I'm interested as the gap there on the fuel mileage and the strategy there coming early or staying out a lap longer.
Yeah, I don't really know what they're doing exactly. I know it'll come down to who's going to take as much as they need. And in the case of like Spectrum, they're probably able to take less fuel. But at the end of the day, if you cut the last stop in half, anything you're doing now doesn't exactly matter. So it's all going to come down to how much fuel intake you're getting. But right now, I don't really know. I think running long is probably better because then you can take less fuel later. But essentially you're all going to be pretty much even if this goes green all the way through, so you're not really saving a whole lot. So we'll have to see exactly how they split up this last group, because if they run it out again and basically, you know, run to 60ish or don't split this one in half, then that's where I get confused. But if they're gonna do this to split this one in half and take less fuel that way, then that's another scenario too. But it did not work for the Spectrum camp this time. They are behind these guys right now and may not actually clear them, which is interesting because I thought they would be the ones that would be able to do it. But looks like right now the guys that were able to go an extra lap or two are currently ahead of this group. Mike McConville to the lead with Radman around the outside of TCB.
This front pack is all reformed back up as Mike McConville just gets hung out to dry, and Spencer Owens and Nick Russell and Brent Kingcott, they're just going to have too much of a run to sit and tuck back in line. They're going to go all the way around Mike McConville. McConville's going to the back of this little pack here that has reorganized after these pit stops here. We've lost a couple others in this cycle here. I believe Rod Fosna has dropped off of this pack here. Adam Zorn is no longer with them. So pit stops claiming some more guys here as the field continues, this lead pack rather, continues to get whittled down as we get further and further on in this event.
Yeah, I remember Shane Nicelonger was in this group too, still trying to get laps back. He is no longer in this main group. We've gone from what looks like 15 to 14 guys. So mainly who we've lost are the lappers, but still unfortunate and still makes the pack a little bit smaller. Might help out these smaller groups, the 4 and 5 truck groups that actually we don't even have a 4 truck group anymore. It's Trent Curtis, Ross Brockman, and Nathan Jump. They're down to 3 trucks in that second group battling for 15th. So I don't know. It looks like they're all setting up to run this one out to the end and kind of and see if they want to split this in half or run a little bit long here. So we'll have to see how they want to run this last run and split it up. But right now we got to see how these guys start racing because Gavin's already going to the outside.
I think with this group of now 14 trucks that we whittled it down to, I think they would be wise just to race cleanly until we get at least a little bit closer to the end here. Granted, we are bearing down on roughly 30 laps to go in this event. So guys already still racing it out hard as Gavin Fitzgerald has a head of steam getting pushed by Nick Caressel. Caressel proving to be one of the better pushers in this event here. That's going to prove incredibly important as they get down here. As I say that, he pushes Gavin down into TCB. TCB's going to somehow keep it out of the... Nope, I take that back. He's in the wall now. That's going to be a huge detriment to his night. He's got massive right and left side damage. The arrow on that truck is shot. Wow, what a moment as one of our heavy hitters takes heavy damage in this event here. He's going to try and latch onto the back of Spencer Owens, but I don't believe that's going to do anything for him. That's going to be a massive blow to his efforts tonight.
A lot of guys back here really wanting yellows. There's about 5-6 guys that aren't in this pack that really want it. Even Shane, who I was talking about, he wanted it. He's still 3 laps down. He wouldn't even get a lap back out of this, but he wanted that lap or that caution to come out. So a lot just happened there, but it looks like we're all going. The big thing to note is Radman's lost his partner, and you can already see that these guys ate him up. But as soon as Madalinas got to the lead, Heller didn't want anything to do with it. He went around with Jordan Gonzalez, so we've got a little 3-truck pack out front with Chris Heller, Jordan Gonzalez, and a lap truck of Robin Durr as Madalina's trying to work his way back up there.
That 2511 tandem has found their way to the front. You got to think they're going to be the ones now who want the stranglehold on this field as Radman is dropping back without his help in TCB, who has lost this lead pack and is dropping back in a hurry on this one. So massive blow to that organization's efforts here tonight, but Radman's going to try and rally back as he's found a partnership in the 14 and the 5 of King Cott and Gavin. Mike McConville is going to hook up with them. They're going to try and make another run at him on the front here as they've packed back up into a pack of now 10 with a couple stragglers out back.
You got to just be impressed by what Mike McConville has done this season. He's had a very frustrating season, should probably be well inside the top 10 in points, but keeps having issues, seems like every single week. And here he is once again in a spot to lead the race and potentially put himself in a spot to win it later on as these lap trucks decide to split outside inside. They've got to work through this now. It looks like they're going to be able to work their way through it pretty easily though. But a little bit of fun there for them as they got a slalom course around. But Mike McConville to the point. Gavin Fitzgerald and Brent Kingcott right behind them is, there you go. There's your tandem, and they're actually pulling away those 4 trucks. But this pack will eventually get up there and start racing them pretty soon here.
The lapper of James Shiflett. A lot of times in this league, we ask the lap cars to hold a lane or go to the outside, even especially on these on these drafting tracks like Daytona and Talladega. But James Shiflett held that bottom lane. He refused to lose, to get just shuffled out back here. Michael Barbagelata went to the outside. James Shiflett stuck it down bottom and stuck it to the group here as he is going to be in prime position to try and get this this lap back here, being that lucky dog in the event that we do get a caution. So James Shiflett just putting him up on the dash and saying, I'm still got a shot here, even though he is the first car 1 lap down here as the field comes back down to complete lap 48 on the event.
That puts 13 lead lap trucks in this group and a few lappers mixed in there. TCB's already lost 14.5 seconds to lead group as of the last lap, and the secondary groups are starting to get caught more and more. They're about to put Louis Woodall another lap down, but these smaller groups are really suffering, and they could have used that caution there to catch back up. iRacing not being so giving this time around as we stay green under this event with all the activity going on. This group has kind of found a couple stragglers here. Spencer Owens being the last one of those to kind of fall off the back in that whole TCB debacle. He has caught back to the back of this pack here. So we've formed back up to 13. That's 14 minus the 1 of TCB now. So everybody has reformed who was originally in this, plus the lappers of Michael Barbagelata and James Shiflett. So we've actually gained trucks in the overall number count on this pack, and they're just going to thunder around this track here. As Gavin's looking to the outside, he wants this lead now, being pushed by the 5 of Brent Kingcott. Those guys have been making their way up to the front all night. They've finally gotten there, and Mike McConville's going to slam the door and open it up for Milad Radman as he's going to just scream on by everybody with no help. Interesting to see Shiflett jump out there. Now he's going to concede that free pass spot to Robin Durr. Gavin's going to get shuffled out in the melee. McConville through what I'd suggest is a late block, but hey man, you got to make do where you can, and he thought that outside lane was going to get a run, and they were. He just ended up killing it right there as Brent kind of gets into his quarter panel as well. These guys are not really angled very well on each other and holding smooth lines. Caressel back up to the point with Radman directly in front of him. That inside line starting to resurge after everybody kind of abandons the top after that mix-up.
We're in the 3rd period of this race here as we've got 5 laps to go on the board. So all bets are starting, the gloves are starting to get unraveled here as everybody's starting to wind up for their big punches, big blocks to be thrown here coming down to the end of this thing. But still out front, it's Malad Radman. Mike McConnell's going to get put in the sucker hole. Brent did not appreciate that block being thrown there, and he's just going to leave McConnell out to dry, and a whole host of Spectrum cars is going to go around him with Robin Durr still trying to hang on to that lucky dog spot with Michael Barbagelata down to his inside. They're 3 wide there. 2 of those guys are battling for the lucky dog. We've got battles up at the 2 battles up at the front, and they're both both as intense as the other.
Caressel back to the lead with Brent Kincott pushing him, Sims pushing Bradman on the bottom. Neither lane can really prevail. Caressel all the way to the top. I really don't understand these strategies where these guys want to lead a lap and they just don't want to be involved anymore. Maybe that was Caressel's plan all along, to just kind of get out of there after leading that lap and kind of fall back here and see what happens. There's no real harm in it right now. You know the pack's really small. You're basically gifted a top 15 if this goes green all the way through and you can just hang on. So not a bad take by Caressel. Just interesting to watch these guys make the decisions that they make as quickly as they do. As Jackson Sims to the front ahead of Radvan from a push from Brent Kincott. Kincott's been pushing everyone there, but hasn't been given the push to get there. Eric kept to his back bumper now, and potentially a little bit of Spectrum up top to push the 5 truck, Brent Kincott, to the front.
KFM boys are here to party. They've got control of both of these lanes here as we are getting down in the closing laps of this event here. The 6 on the bottom, the 5 up top. Awesome effort by that whole organization tonight. As they've got I wouldn't say now a stranglehold on this lead, but they're holding the top 2 spots and they don't want to let go.
So the pack from 15th to 21st is now one big pack. Jump, Brockman, and Feder have kind of dropped off, and now they're behind and caught up to Austin Moore, Matt Durr, and Trent Curtis. So they're catching TCB at an alarming rate. He'll probably drop behind these guys and continue going backwards, as I believe that's what he was just saying over the radio. And that'll put them 14th to 20th. And yep, TCB can't keep up with them either, unfortunately.
That damage that he took just too much for that engine to overcome here, is that arrow is just destroyed on that car here. Speaking of destroyed, the lead, I believe that KFM lead that they had on both lanes is starting to get a little broken up here. Eric kept looked up above him out of line there, and it killed the momentum there as Radman's now got an opening here. He's to the back bumper of Jackson Sims. Does he look to jump to the outside here when Kincott gets this big run? Nope, stays tucked in line here. The KFM boys still continue to lead as they head off into 3.
I think Radman knows he's in a really good spot here. I think a lot of these guys that are, 5th, 6th, 7th in line, they know that they've still got another pit stop left. They can just kind of chill. They've got a really good stranglehold. At this point, you're just telling yourself, listen, I've got basically a top 10, at worst a top 15, if this just goes green and we don't make any mistakes. As Eric gets a little out of line again, it's a second time to the trial that he's done that. I don't know if it's Brent making a late move or Jared kind of shoving a nose, but Brent cycles out of line there, or Eric cycles out of line, and he's going to drop towards the back of this group. But again, you're pretty much guaranteed a top 15 if nothing goes wrong. So these guys just want to take this thing home and let it work out how it's going to work out.
A lot of these guys could use a massive points night here as we are starting to bear down on the chase for the GLTS championship here. This is the penultimate race, rather, with one more, the finale being in Chicagoland next week. So every point matters in this event. A lot of guys stand to gain a lot of points if they just continue to ride up here right now, but I don't believe that that's going to be the case. They're going to be duking it out all the way to the line here as Jared Darling is going to get a huge push from Mike McConville. He's going to go to the lead and maybe clear both of these Kincott Fosnot guys. Wow, what a move there. He really tried to get it on here. Going down in there into turn 1, Jared Darling manages to duck down in line, but Mike McConville gets left out to dry there with the 10 truck of Robin Durr as they fire off of 2.
McConville's not going to shove himself down. He actually does shove himself down in front of Malad Radman there. A little bit of side draft from Robin Durr to help him out down the backstretch, and now these guys are all single filed out. You got to wonder, our pit stop's about to happen. They're pretty much at their window, not exactly at the point that I think they'd pit, but probably 2 or 3 laps away, so they're all just going to single file out and get ready to go here. But we might start seeing these guys. Yeah, it looks like they're all just going to single file out. and kind of relax. That brings us back to this rear group. They're still losing ground. Austin Moore, Matt Durr, Sam Hoff. These guys have all just lost the group very early on after the first pit stop and have not been able to make that ground back up. They're just consistently losing a bit of time, and it's not been working out for them this race. They really need a caution, and they have not gotten it yet.
Yeah, you've got the 91 and the 44 there of Matt Durr and Austin Moore. They're leading that charge in that rear pack there. But I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it really comes down to that third truck there in line, Sam Hoff, and it looked like he wasn't really hooked up with the bumper of Matt Durr there. So those top three guys are really going to control the pace of that group, and Sam Hoff, it looks like, is going to be the weakest link there. If he can just see, now that looks like a good push there. That if they can just maintain that, as we've got pit stops up at the front pack here, the KFM and Spectrum camp has all come down pit, and they've brought the lapper of Michael and Barbara Gelato with them to increase their numbers.
Yeah, that's going to work out for them really well. Going back to what you were saying with Sam, that whole group needs to really be packed on each other, and that's probably why they haven't been gaining. I haven't really been back there looking at what they've been doing push-wise, but they're split apart enough that it's not really going to do a whole lot for them. So we'll have to see how these last pit stops go. If anyone loses the draft now, that's basically their race, unless we get a late race yellow. But right now, that top 10 group was the group that's going to make something happen.
With this smaller pack out front, it's absolutely crucial now that you stay with your dancing partners here as we get down into it. With these pit stalls, it's very easy to get cycled out into a two-car tandem outside of this pack, or even by yourself. With these smaller numbers, it's hard to catch a sniff of a draft here, as those guys have all cycled back out onto the racing surface here as the lead pack is coming down off of 2 now. They're going into 3, so they've got a full straightaway here. We'll have to see how this lead pack can run, if they can run them down, or if the Spectrum camp is going to be able to run away with this thing with the difference in pit strategy on these different laps.
I don't know if you have some details on Nick Caressel's stop, but the guy has been running up front pretty much all day. Came off pit road well behind everybody else, a solid 3 or 4 seconds. He has no draft partners, no friends, no help. His race is all in the balance of a late race yellow at this point.
Unfortunate happenings for Nick Caressel here, who's so strong all night long, was really one of the ones who could take the fight back to Malad Radman, TCB, Jared Darling. It really was a tale of those 4 drivers early on in this event. And now it looks like we're just down to potentially only two of them, as Jared Darling is in that group that just pit. Malad Radman is still out on the racing surface, hasn't pit yet. So another of our heavy hitters being dropped down in this event early on. As we look back at this pack further on back, I think they've just thrown caution to the wind on this, on trying to run down this other pack, as they're just going racing for that 15th or 16th spot rather.
Main pack going to hit pit road this time by right here as they peel off, and we'll see who may or may not miss their box or end up a little bit further behind of what they want. Radman really close to the inside wall, but looks like they're all going to get on. TCB making his way in the back there, nearly getting to the back of Jordan Gonzalez, but made his way down to speed. The interesting thing here is just going to be how these guys all cycle out and where that Spectrum group comes out compared to them.
In the pre-race, we were talking in the pre-race practice, we were talking with some of the drivers, and it really did come down to pits. The thing that you can really only practice for here in these drafting style tracks is your pit entry. Like that's going to be the spot where you gain or lose the most amount of time. So pit entry and pit exit being absolutely crucial in this event, as these guys start to make their way back out onto the racing surface. But here comes the Spectrum guys. Look at that line. No, I am sorely mistaken. That's the second pack there. I really thought that Spectrum had already caught back up to him. What an event that would be if they had already gapped him like that. But that was only the second pack that had just pitted. So everybody calm back down, as Mike McConville still has this lead, followed by Hunter Madalinas and Michael Senzi there. They are the guys in the front of this pack here. Malad Radman looking to try and catch a sniff of that draft and maybe have a 4-car breakaway here in the closing laps of this event.
I'm not sure that they're going to be able to break away. I was looking at that to see if they're going to get caught. They're probably going to get caught if they can't actually get aligned here, and they're taking a little bit too long. Madalinas is tied to McConville, but Cincy and Radman cannot get there as quick as they need to. So that second pack will probably get a sniff of Radman here, and they'll start to gain going down the backstretch and probably all be together by the time they come off turn 4 around to the stripe one more time. But the other thing to note here, we're just trying to keep an eye on Spencer Owens because these other guys all lost the draft. Jump's been in that late pack with Austin Moore and Matt Durr. Shane's been 3 laps down the whole time. And Zach Henry's had himself a night being involved in that first incident with Aiden DuPont getting on pit road. He's had damage this whole race. He just went another lap down, I believe. So he's 2 laps down. Shane's 3 or 4 laps down at this point. So Spencer Owens coming out really nice points day here. If he can keep this one together and get himself a nice top 10, pretty much his only competition is going to be Jump if he gets a late race yellow.
Boy, Jared Darling had a heck of a run there, and Malad Radman said, I want some of that too, and just jumped out in front of him. A big bump that he got there, and it's going to send the 5 trucks there in that line, going to send them around the outside. Malad is the first to duck back in line there, but they're 2 by 2 as they head off into 1. It's an 8-car pack now at the front here with just a couple stragglers there in Chris Heller, Spencer Owens, Gavin Fitzgerald in that second pack. But up front, it's just 8 cars now that we've whittled it down to.
Shane Nicewanger might kind of be their savior here, though. If Heller can get up to him and just kind of push him, they might still be in the draft, and they might still be able to keep up here. But as soon as they went to the outside, talking about Radman and Jared Darling and Eric Kipp, Maddalena said he needed to back off McConville because he was starting to get hot, and that worked out perfect for them. But it looks like Heller and Owens and Gavin are all going to be able to keep up and stay with this pack. So it's about a 10-truck pack, 12-truck pack. So you know, if they can just stay here and keep this going for another 10, 15 laps towards this end of the race, they're pretty much guaranteed a top 10. They just need to hope that there's no yellows here late in the race.
Shane Nicewanger is one of those guys who is hoping for that late race yellow there. He's putting himself in any position that he can to try and get his laps back. But he's going to have a long march to do so. He is 4 laps down in this lead pack with that disconnection problem. So if the action gets heated up, he very well might have a shot at it. It's going to take a wreck just about right now with the way the pace laps are would play out. But it ain't over until it's over here, and Shane Nicewanger is a firm believer in that here as we are whittling down the laps here as they come back across the line. It's going to be 11 to go.
Caressel, just an update on these guys that have lost the draft. Caressel's now just 7 seconds ahead of Austin Moore's pack for about that 14th position. He will be caught because they're doing about 15 miles an hour more than he is. He'll be able to cycle in with them more than likely, though, and not really lose too much more time. Jordan Gonzalez is the other one that has lost this front pack. He's now back to 12th and doing about the same thing. He's probably going to fall all the way back to those positions. Luckily, again, still 12th, and worst case, he ends up about 20th as long as he stays on the lead lap, but very frustrating for a guy that was in the main pack for, you know, the majority of the night, and now he finds himself probably not even going to get a chance in top 10 again unless we get a yellow late in the race.
That's the flip side of that "it ain't over till it's over" coin. Shane Nicewanger trying to get his laps back. Jordan Gonzalez was up there all night in that lead pack, had a solid run going, and in the last pit stops, he has lost this lead pack along with Nick Caressel. So heavy hitters falling back into that second pack. They're going to be duking it out for that 12th and 13th spot here before long when Jordan gets caught by those guys. So tough night for them after doing so well early on.
Yeah, got to be frustrated for those guys. Obviously, Caressel coming off what was a really good run at Gateway that turned pretty sour at the end. And here today, same thing, just ran really well and unfortunately doesn't have the run to show for it now. But again, you could still get that late race yellow, get a nice green-white checkered, still come out here with the top 10. They're only back in 12th and 13th. They're just going to get sucked up by this pack back here. Jordan might be okay because he's still about 20 seconds up, but Caressel's already going to the back of that pack, already finds himself back in about 19th, 20th. Looks like Jump actually fell out of line to kind of make sure that they could hang on. Or actually, Jump seems to have lost that pack himself. Jump is going to go a lap down here quite shortly. He's running 20th off everybody. So Jump actually, wow. Very frustrating night for him.
I was just getting ready to comment. Spencer Owens is the only driver in the top 5 in points who has managed to keep it up in the front pack and on the lead lap. There's two prerequisites for this stat here tonight. So if he just stays where he is, he's going to have a massive points advantage on those guys who he is currently locked in a dead heat in points there. Only a 1 point, 2 point, 3 point difference there between those top 4 or 5 in points. Jared Darling is the next guy up in the point standings who could even challenge him, but he's still 20 points back. So Spencer Owens in a solid position to just put a leg up on the entirety of the rest of the competition here going into that final race in Chicago. If he can just keep it clean and in one piece, as we are coming now to 8 to go.
Yeah, remember Ashton Lawson came in here 5th in points. He had to disconnect early, having internet issues. He didn't run basically any laps tonight, so he's not a factor. Shane Neiswanger 4 laps down, all the way down in 30th out of 32 trucks here tonight. Zach Henry with the damage early on, 2 laps down, 27th. Those guys are not going to be a factor. The best they can finish is maybe 25th if they get lucky with yellows. Nathan Jump just went a lap down right there, so he still has a potential to come back, get a top 10 or something. We've seen crazier stuff happen, but right now he is a lap down in 20th. Absolutely no worry for Spencer Owens there. And best case for Spencer right now is if Robin Durr or someone can actually get ahead of him, but unfortunately Robin Durr not even in this lead group. So Nathan's not in a horrible spot, but Spencer going to look like he can gain about 20-30 points out of tonight if he can just keep it clean and potentially go into Chicago with a nice little boost.
Now that is all hinging on the fact that we stay, or the theory and the hope that we stay green in this. And with how these guys are dicing around and going for this lead, I don't think the action's done yet. We've still got a long way to go in this event here as Malad Radband continues to fight out or hold the top spot out front. They're going to throw a massive block on Jared Darling there. Both him and Eric Kepf get all sorts of out of sorts as they come down into the trioval here. A huge block, and you got to think they're only going to get bigger here as that opens the door for Mike McConville, getting pushed by Hunter Madalinas coming through down into 1.
So this is a good point to bring up that we've only had 1 repeat winner at Talladega, and I was thinking Radman was a winner here, but he has not done it yet. So odds of a repeat winner tonight are pretty much out the window. The only chance he really had was James Shiflett or Ross Brockman, and they're both pretty much out of this. Shiflett a lap down, running in, well, I don't even know. Shiflett's a lap down in 25th, and Brockman is back in the second pack, still 16th, so he has your best shot at it, but right now we could see a new winner at Talladega tonight.
Malad Radman doing his best to make that, to carry on that trend here, as he has not let go of that top spot there. Continues to block both lanes as they get runs, as we've hit 5 to go in this event here. Jared Darling's got a huge run now, gets to his outside with a push from Eric Kepf, but Radman's going to have that dominant inside lane, or rather the shorter inside lane rather. In this one, going to get a nose back out in front here. Jared going to have a little bit of a run, not much of one here, as he tries to get to the quarter panel of Malad Radman as they thunder down the back straightaway.
Starting to wonder if Jump has some damage, because he's not even keeping up with this group. I thought for sure he'd be able to cycle in. He was running the bottom lane, but it looks like he's fallen almost far enough off that he's not going to be able to keep up with them. So again, if I'm Spencer Owens, I'm dropping to the back of this group, and I'm just going to let him wreck. And he's actually already at the back, so he is exactly where you want to be. And if they wreck, he can just hit the brake pedal and let it all work itself out. But right now, he's in the best spot to kind of relax here. Jackson Sims kind of doing the same thing. You got to wonder if they're going to make a run at it towards the end.
That top lane has now turned the heat up. Like 2 laps ago, Malad Radman was able to block both lanes and keep a hold on this field. This time, however, that top lane's going past him, and past him in a hurry. 2, 3 cars now going to go by him here as Eric Kepf leaves Jared Darling out to dry. The 2 pink trucks here on Spectrum Racing are going to have control of these leads here. Malad Radman gets to the bumper of Eric Kepf, going to have a huge shot here. Move Eric Kepf to the point, coming to 3 to go.
Eric Kepf doing all he can. He's usually the qualifying master here. Has yet to win at Talladega, but really good on these super speedways. Jared back to the outside with a push from Brent Kingcott. Any one of these guys would be a massive win here. None of them with a lot of wins in the column in their careers. This would be a big momentum shift for them, all right around that points bubble too, besides maybe Jared Darling, who's pretty comfortable going in. But all these guys need the points, and they need this. The win doesn't mean anything is a thing. They just need the points, because there's no win and you're in. It's top 10 in points, and we're taking into the playoffs. And right now, any one of these guys could really use that.
They smell the blood in the water, and they are hungry here. Jared Darling back to the outside of Eric Kepf, but he's going to have the push from Radman. As Radman pushes Eric loose. He's going to get loose, going to fall to the back of this pack, hopefully not lose it. Radman with a monster shove. He's going to get turned off of Jared Darling, up in front. Big wreck here in the tri-oval. Brent Kingcott's involved. Adam Zorn's involved. Jared Darling's involved. Massive implications here as they were coming to 2 to go. Wow, what a setup for a green-white checkered here. This is the caution that everyone was hoping for, and this is just going to throw everything out the window.
Wow, I think Jared just didn't expect Radman to block down to the bottom there, and he seemed like he was lifting out of it, but unfortunately, it did not work out.
If I was Jared, I wouldn't take too kindly to Radman pushing my teammates so hard that he got him loose down there. And just going to add my 2 cents. I think that had a non-zero amount to do with that bump there going into that one. But that's just my 2 cents on that one. So massive wreck here from gathers up a lot of front runners in this event. We'll look to get you a replay here as they are coming out of turn 4 rather. You see Eric Kepf just gets pushed loose. Radman had such a run that he was able to push Eric clean and still get out in front of Jared, and Jared just didn't lift, and it was just too much of a bump for Radman to handle. He gets turned out in front of the field. That's going to collect at least five other cars in this massive one here in the closing laps of this event at Talladega.
There's another wreck we need to look at. Sensi, Madalinas, McConville, and others drove into each other, took out Gavin as well. A lot of big damage towards the end of that, as Madalinas and McConville went through the grass and kind of tried to save it and collect it into each other and drove right up into Sensi and absolutely destroyed the 37 and did some damage to the 14. We're going to look back at that now. Watching Gavin, you can see McConville down in the grass. Watch Sensi here, and you can see Madalinas and McConville and come back up across the track. Gavin, Sensi, really heavily involved there. McConville damage, and I believe Madalinas probably comes out the cleanest out of those 4. But I guess the biggest good news for them is it's a green-white checkered. There's only 18, 20-ish guys on the lead lap, so they have a shot to make this work how it is, but they are all very heavily damaged right there after avoiding the initial wreck.
That's the worst kind of wreck you can be involved in, is one after the big wreck has happened already. Just a really unfortunate and a much bigger wreck than what we thought it was there, as you see just Radman's truck just absolutely getting hammered by almost everybody that was in that lead pack. It looks like that second pack is now they're going to have a shot to win at this, and they're going to be the ones with the cleanest trucks.
McConville, Madalinas stay out. They're both damaged. It'll be interesting to see if they can get up to speed. Owens and Heller are completely clean, going to restart 3rd and 4th, it looks like. And then you've got Sims, who also ran into Radman, might have some front-end damage. He's going to stay out and restart 5th. Jared Darling was in the middle of that, but he stays out as well. So I'd say throw a blanket over the top 6. I don't know what's going to happen with them. We know Spencer and Heller can make something happen. But then 7th on back, clean trucks. Austin Moore, Matt Durr, Trent Curtis, Jordan Gonzalez back there in 11th. All these guys that lost a draft, had pit issues, something go wrong in the middle of the race. They're all going to be able to come back and make something out of this.
I'll tell you who this is also going to be a saving grace for is Nathan Jump. I believe he's the one who gets the lucky dog here. This is going to save his efforts to keep the fight and the pressure on Spencer Owens for that top spot in points here. So Nathan Jump gets back on the lead lap, as this just throws a wrench into everything, as these late race cautions do, and we are no stranger to them here in the Great Lakes Truck Series. So action has been turned up to 11, and I think it's gonna just continue on all the way to the checkered flag here, no matter what number of green-white checkers that we have here at Talladega.
Yeah, I'm still just kind of in awe. Heller was barely able to miss that melee after the accident, but really frustrating for Sensi and for McConville. And I mean, McConville's staying out, so I guess he feels like he's got a good enough truck. Madalinas didn't have a lot of damage, but Sensi and Gavin both really need the points in really good spots, and now they find themselves 17th and 18th after just riding in this pack and initially avoiding that accident. We'll have to see how this all works out, but this green-white checker is going to be interesting.
You have to wonder too how this caution is going to help those guys with the damage that they had. I mean, it looks like Mike McConville's going to still stay out and inherit the lead here in this one, but you can see that that rear bumper of his on the left rear is a little crinkled in. You have to wonder how that's going to affect the aero. Any little bit can affect speed here at such a aero dependent track. People like, you have to wonder about the guys who had damage and could potentially get it repaired, i.e. TCB, Lewis, Lewis Woodall, Adam Zorn, those guys who were collected in that early stuff. Granted, there are a couple more laps down, but if we get a couple more of these and they're able to take some wave rounds, get some lucky dogs perhaps, get that damage repaired, they're not out of this thing now that we've established the precedent that we've got a late race yellow.
We've also got to worry about fuel here. These guys pitted very close to that window. More green-white checkers could spell some trouble. I don't think we'll be getting too many wave rounds, but we got to wonder, are all these guys actually good on fuel? Can they make multiple green-white checkers, or is this pretty much all they have in it, especially these guys that stayed out here?
Boy, a fuel mileage race at a super speedway here. What a event that would be, and you can't mention fuel mileage without thinking about Ross Brockman, who is back there in that 14th position, got saved by this late race yellow. He might have something to say about this at the end of this thing, with the fuel, if the fuel mileage does in fact come into question. However, for right now, it's just going to be all out here as Mike McConville has hit the restart zone. The green flag is out. He's away with a shot. Boy, you have to wonder if that's going to come back to haunt him here, getting so far out front here, as Madalinas is going to have a huge push from Chris Heller. Spencer Owen's going to come to Mike McConville's aid there. Big bump down into one. Mike McConville's going to hang on to that lead there as everybody packs back up behind him into one big happy family.
Man, I didn't like that bottom lane, but that outside did not go as much as I thought they would. The inside's now packed up. We've got guys trying the outside up there. Jordan Gonzalez, I can't tell who that is, but a lot of guys, it looks like the 44 of Matt Durr already trying that outside lane. They're 3x3. They're trying to go places now. But Madalinas, Mike McConville side by side for the lead. Spencer Owens and Chris Heller tucked in right behind them, third and fourth.
Matt Durr is back. We had written him off. He was in that second pack. They were so far behind, but with this late race yellow, it's brought them all back together. They're 3x3 down, coming down through the tri-oval here as Matt Durr's going to get put in the sucker hole here. Jordan Gonzalez is going around him, trying to get up to the rear bumper of that 11 truck. You have to assume that that's going to be the move here. We're on the white flag lap here. Next flag will end the race as Mike McConville has still got a stranglehold on this lead. You've got the 9 and the 11 trucks coming with a huge head of steam down the back.
That middle lane's just not working with how tucked up that bottom lane is. They need more guys to make moves, but the problem is everyone just keeps going to the third lane like they do again. Here comes Jared Darling with Nick Caressel to the outside. Nick Caressel written off for the whole race after he ended up off pit road. We got a spinner at the back. I don't think that'll be an issue. They're 3x3. They're all packed up now, trying to go 4 wide off turn 4, but Jared Darling to the point off turn 4.
3x3. Jared Darling with the advantage here. The start finish line 1,000 feet further as they're wrecking behind him here. They're going to go all the way down to the apron here, and it looks like Jared Darling is going to get the win in Talladega. What a finish.
I'm in awe. That was incredible.
Have you ever?
Wow, Caressel actually got all the way back up to second. What a finish for him. Well deserved with how his race started to go off the rails there. And everybody that started in the top 3 finished in the top 3. Very interesting end there to that. But, man, you got to imagine if that wreck didn't happen, how interesting that would have been, considering they were just piled on top of each other towards the line there.
They were just, 3x4, 5, 6 rows deep there. Everybody wanted a piece of the action. Everybody knows that the win is possible here at Talladega. But it's going to go to Jared Darling this time around. We talked to him last week at Gateway, and we were hoping that he'd be back in the booth tonight. It looks like we're going to get that here as he comes around to do his burnout. What an effort! And yeah, I do think it's absolutely hilarious. There, the top 3 all finish in the top 3 starters all finish in the top 3, going back in reverse order too. Jared started third, Nick Caressel started second, Madalena started on the pole. They're 1, 2, 3, or 3, 2, 1 rather, finishes 1, 2, 3 in this one. What a performance here, and what a finish tonight. As Caressel is doing his own burnouts down here, he says, this is as much of a victory for me as it is for you, Jared.
I believe we're about ready to knock out some interviews and get running through this, but wow, what a top 5. What an interesting run. Eric Keff and Alex Vetter right there as well. So really interesting run. And by the way, Spencer Owens was the one that kind of got put in the middle there and started all that melee, ends up 11th. He'll eke out a points lead over Nathan Jump, who finished 15th by just a little bit tonight, with Zach Henry and Shane Nicelonger obviously suffering and going to lose a good bit of points going into Chicago. But we'll get started with some interviews. And first on the docket is Hunter Madalinas.
Hunter Madalinas, your third place finisher here tonight. We talked about it. Started on pole, finished third here. Solid run from him. He was down and then back up. Hunter, coming down off of 4. Y'all were 3 wide there. What was that like? And could you have done anything else to eke out this win?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, I saw we were going 3 wide, coming off of 4, and I knew we were either gonna wreck or kind of just have a crazy finish like that. I don't know what happened with the inside line. I saw them all wrecking, but that took out Chris, and Jared just had help with the 2 other guys up there in the outside. I couldn't really have. I really needed to push there with Chris, but he got involved in it. So not much I could have really done, but came away with the best finish I could have.
Well, you kept your foot in it and still brought home a bronze medal in all of that action there. Very impressive drive from you all night here. You were just all over the place there. How were you able to, I mean, talk about starting up front and then going back and then coming back up to the front here. Did you have a strategy going into the night? I mean, I know it's kind of hard to do that here, but I'm sure falling off at all isn't in those plans, but talk about your adventure just all night throughout the field.
Yeah, so I wanted to really push to get pole in this race. That first pit stall is the best one. So I knew if there was cautions, if there was anything that we had to go down pit road, I wanted that first stall. And it actually really helped me all night long on pit entry because I could stay to the right where most guys had to go to the left. I could enter pit road how I wanted to, drive it in as deep as I wanted to, pass as much guys as I needed. And, I feel like that's how we were able to stay to the front. I had my teammate in Sensi, I had Austin there too. We were all just talking about it, making strategies with each other, just kind of staying together. And it was just having those good pit entries, having those good strategy calls, and just knowing when to actually push the truck is what kept us up there.
Yeah, man, it was awesome to watch all the action here tonight that you were a part of and definitely contributed to. But we're gonna shift the topic, shift the conversation to the bigger picture here. We've got one race left at Chicagoland. You are sitting at 9th in the standings here, just inside the bubble. How are you feeling going into Chicagoland? One race left, trying to make it the chase.
I feel like we're gonna go race for a championship this year.
That's the attitude, boy. You can't ask for much more than that. Very confident Hunter Madalinas out of this one here. Before we let you go here tonight, do you have anybody to thank here for your run?
Yeah, thank you, you guys for putting on these great broadcasts. Everyone out there watching. Um, Thank you to E95 guys, always being there for me, helping me out every race, and just let's go get next week.
A very confident Hunter Madalinas. Thanks for talking to us tonight, bud. Awesome to watch you all night long.
Yeah, thank you. You guys have a good night.
All right. Next up in the booth, we got second place finisher Nick Caressel. Nick, I've wanted to talk to you pretty much all season. You've had probably the most up and down luck, but tonight you put yourself in probably the best chance to make the chase here this season that you've had all season long. How'd you end up getting back up to the front knowing that you messed up on that last pit stop? Kind of walk us through that. What happened on the last pit stop? How'd you get back up there and make that work?
Well, the wreck with TCB, when they got loose on the outside, I put myself in the wall and damaged my truck a little. But on that pit stop, I just slid through my box by a little bit, backed up. Thought I had it backed up enough, and I didn't. So I had to back up a couple more inches. Lost about 10 seconds there. But that caution came out. Restarted about 15th. Was pushing the bottom line. I knew I had to get to the outside line somehow. Went to push the third lane and basically just saw Eric in the middle, and those guys have been taking care of me all night. So I went down to the middle, and once he went up high, Jared was in front of me, and I told Jared, just hang on, we're going to push to the end. And he made it work. Jared did a great job of keeping me attached to his bumper in turn 3 and 4 there, and we just got the good shove off 4, and he took it home.
I was saying you were pretty much the aggressor at the beginning, the one guy that would kind of go up there and mess with TCB and Radman whenever they ended up getting up there. But was that your plan all night long? Obviously, you started second. Was it to just maintain that running order and stay up front? That's usually how you avoid yellows and everything. So, was that the game plan, or was there kind of a little bit of an idea to maybe drop back and try something else?
90% of the time, I'm one of those people that likes to ride in the back, take it easy. But in Discord the other day, they were talking about how they wanted to run aggressive and be up front, and I was like, "Hey, I've never done it. Let's try it. Let's do something different." And I trust Radman and TCB to hold a good line, so it makes it a lot easier when you got people around you that you can trust racing with.
Well, it worked out really well for you tonight. It was super fun to watch you kind of make those moves at the beginning and find your way back up at the end, make that big charge on the outside lane and make that all happen. I thought for sure you'd eke out and go to the top as soon as they started wrecking, but you didn't. You stuck with Jared. Really nice teamwork there to get you guys a 1-2 finish. How do you feel going into Chicagoland next week to really solidify your chance at making a run for this championship?
I actually feel really good. Chicagoland's a great track for me. I'm usually really good at saving tires, so long run, even with the shortened fuel we got, should help out in, quite a bit. But it's gonna have to put in quite a few laps in practice. I'm sure it's gonna drive completely different than I expect, but we'll try to get up front and try to get a good top 10 out of it.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing what you can do on track next week. Anyone you want to thank for tonight's stellar run, though?
Just thank everyone, you guys, for broadcasting. First of all, I mean, it's awesome that you guys broadcast, and it's really fun to go back and watch the races. It's just really enjoyable to have a good broadcast to watch. And of course, all the guys on the team, they work really well together. They communicate well. It's a lot of fun to race with those guys when you have a good group of guys in Discord to run with. So, thanks to those guys.
Well, we appreciate you, Nick, and it was really fun watching you guys run different strategies, different fuel strategies tonight from the whole Spectrum Camp SP2 Racing. Cool to watch that all unfold and put you guys all up towards the top 10, it looks like. So, looking forward to seeing you next week, and good luck.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
And certainly last but not least, we've got our winner in the house, Jared Darling. Jared, it's Brittle and the boys up in the booth. Got a copy.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Well, welcome back, man. You've got that was third place last week. The win this week, I believe. So I was going back and looking at your results in the last 3 races. You've finished 5th, 3rd, 1st. That kind of momentum is very scary for the rest of the field, especially going into these playoffs here. You are now 35 points clear of 10th place in this one, all but locked into the chase here. What a run here tonight, man. Take us through that that last lap there, coming off of 3 by 3 all the way back. It was awesome to watch. Take us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Just shout out to everybody holding their lines. And really, this win, I mean, it's 50-50. My teammates helped me so much there at the end, especially Caressel and Eric. We worked together quite a bit today. It was definitely the plan. Like, I wanted to work with, TCB and Malad because we're really good at this. But today, I was like, we got to work with the teammates, and we did great today. I mean, the pushes were excellent, and that last lap, dude, he was controlling my truck because I was damaged from the wreck that happened before that, and I actually thought I was done. I thought I was broke for sure, but he just pushed and he said, "I'm not lifting." I said, "Go for it. Screw it. Just whatever happens, happens." And that whole last lap, I was hanging on for dear life because he was controlling my truck. And just got to thank him and Eric so much for sticking with me. Definitely wouldn't have won without them.
Yeah, that was awesome, man, to see y'all fanned out there 3 wide, and with all that action there that happened in the trial, you were able to keep it straight and keep it pointed in the right direction across the line there in first place. Like I was mentioning earlier, you're now I misspoke. You're actually 36 points rather clear. So you basically just have to start next week at Chicagoland to lock yourself into the chase here. But your confidence has to be skyrocketing going into these last couple events as we bear down on the chase here. How are you feeling going into it?
Yeah, I feel good about Chicagoland. It's the mile and a halves. I feel like is I'm pretty good at those, especially Chicagoland, and I did quite a few C-Fix was there a few weeks ago and did quite a few races there. So I kind of have an idea of what to expect, and love the track, and it's a home track too. So I guess puts a little more emphasis on it to run well, and I think we can carry this momentum there and go for another win. Hopefully, that'd be great. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to Chicagoland for sure.
Yeah, man. With that momentum that you've got, I can't blame you how you're not just on cloud nine right now. Like you said, it is a home race for you, so we'll be looking for a good performance there. Last but not least, do you have anybody to thank for tonight's stellar performance? I know you were already talking about your team, but is there anybody else out there that you wanted to mention?
Yeah, just the whole team, and we all worked together. I worked with everyone at least once or twice during the race, and we just had great communication tonight. And I did sound a little cocky last week, kind of going here, kind of calling my shot, saying I felt confident to win. But you definitely, when it comes down to the end, got to have help, and I had that thankfully tonight. So just shout out to the whole team and Eric for the beautiful truck again. Pink Whitney might have to have a little drink after this one. And that you guys for broadcasting. Cannot wait to go back and see all the action. And I do want to just apologize to Malad there. I know he kind of blocked. We got together there. I just wasn't lifting. But we worked together a lot the race today, and sucks we got together like that. But just sometimes doesn't work out. And we'll see you at Chicagoland next week. Can't wait. Feels really good. Feels really good to win. Just even if it's Talladega, it's every win is awesome. So feels good.
Absolutely, man. Every win matters, and it's awesome to have you up on the winner circle this week. So go get them next week at Chicagoland. We'll be watching as always, and yeah, when you go back and watch this broadcast, we're saying your name a lot tonight. Just a spoiler warning. But thanks for talking to us, man. Go enjoy your win.
All right, have a good one, guys.
And that'll just about wrap up our interviews here tonight. Elliot, closing thoughts on Talladega with one race left in the regular season?
Well, chalk it up on the board. 18 different super speedway races, 16 different winners still, 17 different winners, 16 different track wins. So obviously no one can tame Talladega or Daytona, it seems, and we put another one on the board to return next season. But I think just overall, one of the fastest trucks ended up winning. Jared definitely had probably the best average running position tonight, besides Radman, TCB, and a couple others. But he made it work really well towards the end, and that push from Caressel, I think, is kind of what just put him over. Honestly, I kind of wish Caressel could have made the move and gotten it done. He had the room up top to do it if he wanted to, and he just stuck to Jared. So you got to respect him for that. But I really would have liked to see Caressel make that move and make that happen. But I think moving forward now, everyone's got to change topic, look back at the 1.5 miler, see how they've been doing, and see who can get in and who's out moving forward, because you've got a lot of guys right around that cusp, as you said, with the updated points. With obviously Caressel's pretty solidly in now, but Madalinas, Lawson, Sensi, Fitzgerald, Heller all within about 10 points of each other. Anything could swing it, But someone like Eric Kep, Nick Caressel, Jackson Sims, they all did their due diligence. They put themselves about 10 points up. That's all you can really ask going into Chicago. Now they can focus on just locking that in and looking forward to a championship at the end of the season.
Heck of a battle, heck of a race all night long here in Talladega. We'll take you through the final finishing order here real quickly before we get on out of here. Jared Darling, your winner tonight. Nick Caressel finishes second. Hunter Madalinas third. Like we mentioned, those top three in qualifying all finished top three in the race, so that's a heck of a night for them. Eric Kep brings it home in fourth. Solid night for him. Alex Fetter, Mike McConville, really that whole Trent Curtis Racing organization there, they had all three of their trucks in the top 10 tonight. Awesome night to them for all of them. Austin Moore, after being down so far back in the pack, that late race yellow really saved his night. He brings it home seventh. Jordan Gonzalez, a really great effort from him tonight, starting sixth, finishing eighth, really consistent. Trent Curtis, like we said, finished ninth, and then Ross Brockman rounds out your top 10. Solid night from him.
And going back to 11th on back here, Spencer Owens again. Going to leave here with the points lead, 6 points over jump. That's going to be the talking point. Points leader after Chicagoland gets a 10-point boost going into the playoffs chase, and everybody else comes in. I believe it's either even or 1 point separated. We'll have that all lined up for you going into Chicagoland. Jackson Sims comes home 12th after what looked like he could have potentially a really good run. Was there at one point and unfortunately got wrecked there when Owens and Heller made contact coming to the tri-oval. Heller right there with him in 13. Sam Hoff, really quiet night tonight, qualified towards the back, but ran really well, ran up front for a bit, led a couple laps, comes home in 14th. Nathan Jump, your other points leader there, comes home 15th after falling a lap down at one point, getting the lucky dog and getting back into it, ends up 15th. I'm sure he's just happy to get out of here at this point. Gavin Fitzgerald, Michael Sensi, two guys that really had stellar runs going, were both in the top 5 and got eaten up by that late contact between McConville and Madalinas there after that late race wreck. Matt Durr, Brent Kingcott, Robin Durr, all, again, guys that were just suffering all night. Kingcott was running pretty well at one point, but they all kind of found their way back around to the top 20. Unfortunately, not the runs they were really looking for, though, I'm sure.
Just to finish up the running order here, TCB, after running so strong all night, got caught up in that wreck. He finishes in the 21st position, 1 lap down. James Shiflett comes in behind him. Rod Fosna, Michael Barbagelata, Lewis Woodall, Preston Henry, Zach Henry, both the Henry boys finishing 26th and 27th right next to each other, respectively. Adam Zorn, Shane Neiswanger, like we mentioned all night, that whole Dark Horse organization really took a hit tonight with all the wrecks and everything. And then Milad Radman brings it home in 30th after having such a dominant run and maintaining that front spot all night long. Really unfortunate for him. Aiden DuPont and Ashton Lawson will round it all out in this one here. That'll just about do it here for us at Split Second Broadcasting. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with the ultimate race, or with the final race rather, in the regular season at Chicagoland. Remember to follow, subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week. This is Hunter Brittle with Elliot Henderson signing off. Thank you. Good night.